Welcome, my beautiful souls, and welcome, my gorgeous cancers. This is going to be your October 25 reading. I don't know why it doesn't sound right. This will be for Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Rising. You could certainly have a combination of that also. I know that many of you are intuitively guided to readings now, and that is really my ultimate goal with this channel is to help people learn to trust their intuition. Those signs that our spirit guides are always sending. And I read through our spirit guides. So the more we pay attention to our intuition, I feel like, the easier life is. So this is also for those who may be in love with a Cancer, can be platonically or romantically. But keep in mind, your guides know you're here and they will certainly send you messages. Um, so, Cancer, we are going to do a spread today called the Celtic Cross. I did this also for Scorpio. And, one of the reasons why I decided to do this spread is because I know many of you are learning tarot. And I feel like this is a great spread for beginners, but also for advanced. So we are looking at your love life. We are looking at your money. We are just looking at life and whatever your guides want you to hear. So, in the Celtic Cross, there are 10 different positions, and I'll explain it as we go along. Um, but we are going to let Mother Mary open up your reading. And even though this is a particular spread, I still may go back and clarify or go deeper. So we'll use the crystal vision for that. And for the spread, we're going to use the Universal Tarot. This is not a deck that jumps out for you very often, but it jumped out today. So we're going to use it. Um, and let's just go ahead and get into your reading. I'm going to go ahead and bring the lid down. There we go. And we are going to start with Mother Mary. So let's open the reading with Mother Mary. Any words of wisdom that you may need to hear? Whispering words of wisdom, let it be. The song has been on my mind. All right. So, by the way, as I'm shuffling, just take in some deep breaths. Just calm your mind. Let go of your expectations and just allow it to flow to you. These readings are soul to soul. You know, we are all one big soul family. And it is from my soul to your soul, but connecting with our guides. Prayer. Prayer. Instead of worrying, I pray about this situation to bring about real solutions. The power of prayer. Instead of worrying, I pray about this situation to bring about real solutions. We'll go ahead and put Mother Mary right there. And let's go ahead and start the Celtic Cross. So, again, there's going to be different positions, and each of them represent something. So, I'll tell you what that is. Boy, I feel like that card wants to come out, so I'm going to take it. That's going to be your first card. So, your first card, and we are going to put him down. I don't know why. I feel like it just adds more excitement to it. So this is going to be your present or a current situation. Even Mother Mary is talking about a current situation. So present / current situation. Number 2, which is going to cross over that, is any challenges. So the main challenge or obstacle, but it doesn't have to be a challenge. It may be, um, like, what's the word? I just had it in my mind. Um, it may be the clarity that you need to move forward with something. So number three is your subconscious. So subconscious factors that are affecting, let's say, a situation. Though this can cover like everything in your life. So this is going to go below. And then number four is the past. So influences that led to number one. And this is going to go, this is going to go right here, which makes sense, right? The past. And then number five is the conscious, your conscious influences. We're going to put that right above. I'm actually going to move everything up so you can see everything. And okay, so where are we at? We're at 6. This is your future, the potential outcome or the direction that you may be advised to take. And that will go right here. I should have moved these over just a little. Okay. Number 6. No, I'm sorry. Number 7. It's you. Your strengths, your qualities, what you need to navigate. So this goes right here. And I'm actually going to slide my computer down a little bit. Okay. Number 7 is your strengths, your qualities, and really how to navigate. Goes right above. 8, the internal or external influences. So, factors or people can be what may be getting in your way, but it also may be what's helping you. I'm going to put that right here. So this is your hopes and your fears, desires, hopes, and fears. And last but not least is the outcome, the potential outcome or resolution, however you want to say it. And that goes right here. So this is our Celtic cross. I'm going to slide these over here and let's begin. So let's start with the present. This card, interesting. I just felt like it wanted to come out. So the Four of Pentacles, interesting. This may talk about your foundation, the foundation of something that's new. This can talk about also resistance, like resistance to maybe other people's ideas. You can look how this person's like hanging tightly onto their pentacles, like their feet are hanging onto 2 pentacles, their hands, and just the look he has on his face. So, it can talk about some resistance, whether it be you or someone else. So let's see what's crossing it. The 7 of Pentacles. Interesting. 7 of Pentacles to me is your tree of life. These pentacles that you're seeing, I often think of this as your garden. And, it's the seeds that I have planted. And remember, we should always be planting seeds. If we plant no seeds, we have no harvest. Some seeds are pre-planted, though, or predestined, let's say. What I love about this, though, is, well, first of all, it does talk about patience. Think about planting it like a real seed. But then you want to give it time, right, to grow. You're not going to like stand over it like, come on, grow, grow. So that's where the patience comes in. But it means that something is manifesting. And it may be something that was predestined. I don't know why I'm picking that up for you. Um, So, maybe keep yourself open to the potential of what may show for you. I get this feeling, some of you may get this epiphany, this idea. But I also feel like it's about growing these pentacles. So being careful not to be too resistant. Looking at the 7 to 4, which adds up to an 11. Some of you that can talk about, I don't know why, I always associate 11 with twin flames. Doesn't have to be that. Um, but it may be bringing love into the situation. I also feel though it is talking about, what I feel like it's talking about is the ability to build something like from an idea, from an epiphany, and being open to, you know, I want to say other people's ideas, but maybe even your own ideas, like giving something a chance. Also, I feel like it's saying anything new that is, let's say, coming to the surface, or anything new that you want to build, whether it be love, a business, think about the foundation. Like, I want to start with a strong foundation. This is what helps guarantee me that when, if a tower comes in, a strong wind comes in, it doesn't knock you off your foundation. You can handle it. Some of you, I feel like you may be rebuilding, whether it's the rebuilding of you, rebuilding of a business, or even love. It feels like, I definitely feel like something is being rebuilt. It's interesting because I'm also feeling potential past lives. And I've been getting past lives, like past life love, in so many readings. And the 7 and the 4 adding it up to an 11, you know, it's not that I want you to search for a twin flame because I don't. That should just happen naturally. Um, but I do feel like it's tying you back, if nothing else, to the wisdom of your past lives and the ability to take that and truly grow from that. So I feel like something is coming to fruition within this energy. So let's continue. Let's look at the subconscious. So the subconscious factors that is affecting this situation in any way. Wow. Hello, 9 of Cups. Inner harmony. But not just inner harmony, it's also fulfillment of wishes. Some of you could have recently become single, but in this energy, you're kind of loving it. And when I say single, well, some of you, that's the case. For others, I feel like, things are happening. Like maybe you're starting to see action in certain things where it is bringing you this inner harmony and fulfillment of wishes. And it makes sense with the 7 of Pentacles being there, you know, wishing for one of these seeds to blossom, have a feeling it's about to. This is a great energy, by the way. Truly inner harmony. Doesn't mean everything in my life is going perfect, but I feel good within myself. Many I feel like it is through your own hard work of like your spirituality, um, trusting maybe in your guides, knowing that, when I say a seed is coming to fruition, knowing that it's possible. I feel like more than possible. I feel like it's actually going to happen. Maybe different things for different people, but I love the mixture of the pentacles and then the cups. That is, I feel like that is where I'm feeling pretty good about my life. And it probably came after the fact. So we'll see because we're going to look at the past right now. So these are the influences that have led you maybe to this 9 of Cups. Look at that, the Nine of Wands. You know, it's interesting how I said I felt like many of you, like you've been working on your spirituality. This is a energy of reflecting back on one's life. And by the way, you know, soon I won't be saying this anymore, but we're in the final ninth year of a 9 year chapter. And then next year is year one. I just did two podcasts, one on the year nine, just to remind us once again. But then I did the year one in the year of the magician. So this is great energy. This is looking back at one's life, not with judgment. This is about how you have grown. You know, every one represents something you've been through, an adventure, some can be something that wasn't quite so easy to get through, but you did. And just look at this image of this man. He is busting out of his clothes. That's his spiritual wisdom. Those are his spiritual muscles. Interesting, you have a nine here and a nine here. Subconscious, but this is the past. So to me, this is the work that you have done within yourself. Again, no judgment. This is about, you know, I feel like this is when you start to realize, like, I am who I am today because of these past experiences, hard and beautiful at the same time. But being proud of that, you know, it makes perfect sense that I feel Pentacle is coming to fruition. A wish is coming true. It's because, you know, I want to say you did the hard work, but I don't know if hard work is the right word. But you've reflected. You reflected back. And remember, nines, when it talks about reflection, it's final reflection. This is being proud of oneself. Should be. You should be proud of yourself. All right. So that makes me feel like things are only going to get better. Why? Because now you know. You know, for some of you, like now you understand the importance of something having that strong foundation, whether it be a business, whether it be love, just life. All right, well, let's continue. So let's look at the conscious influences. I can pick it up. Look at this, Eight of Wands. This is like the law of attraction. What I think about, I bring about. You know, I often feel like four of these wands, it doesn't really show it in this image, but a lot of times you'll see like four wands going out into the universe. Those are your intentions. And then four wands coming back. It's like, I get what I give. All right. Is that the right saying? Something like that. This is also fast moving energy. And I love that it's mirroring the Nine of Cups because, again, fulfillment of wishes. Like this seed is coming to fruition, I have no doubt. And it may be coming sooner versus later. Almost like this is saying, get ready. Get ready. You've done the work. You're ready. You've put those intentions out there. Now you just have to believe, right? But the Nine of Cups, again, this person's not really like waiting for something like this miracle to happen, so to speak. They're pretty satisfied with their life at this moment. And again, it doesn't have to mean in all areas. But I found, you know why you found this in harmony? Because it's like you know who you are now. You know what I mean? Like you're not looking back at past experiences like woe is me, that we've all done that. You know what I mean? But now you're looking back and thinking like you're proud of yourself. I'm proud of you. Your guides are proud of you. So get ready for something to manifest that for some reason I feel like it may blow your mind. So let's go to the next one, which is your future. So the potential outcome, or we can say the direction that you should take. The Knight of Swords, communication. This knight is rushing in. You have a lot of energy that's moving quickly. And it's interesting because the Seven of Pentacles' first message is patience, but I have a feeling you've been patient. This can be communication that's coming in towards you, though I also feel for some of you, this is using your voice, trusting within your voice, whether I do it for a living. Like I could see some doing like a podcast using that voice. And it feels like, I'm saying a podcast, but can be anything, though I do feel like there's a few of you who may have started a podcast and, maybe you're not really seeing the fruits of your labor yet. Hang on to your hat. Interesting how this night is coming right into the present, which is good. Mirroring that Nine of Swords. If this is your voice, then this is also your experience. Like you have the experience um to be really whatever it is you want to be. Trust within that voice. Now, I also feel this could be potential communication coming in. And, if it's speaking of love at all, I feel like my cancers are ready. Like I'm ready because it's your intentions going out into the universe and they're coming back to you. Make sure that foundation is strong, number one. That inner harmony is important. Doesn't, again, like when I say inner harmony, it doesn't mean everything around you is going perfect. It can mean that you've learned to center yourself in the midst of chaos. You've learned to separate yourself from energy that's not serving you, or getting in your way. 8 is about also a new beginning, and it is the number of infinity, as above, so below. And it can actually be like an answered prayer. I love that it's mirroring the Nine of Cups. So if you're sending intentions, if you're sending intentions out into the universe, you're doing it from a very positive energy, a trusting energy. I like this for you. All right, so let's look directly at you. And this is about your strengths, your qualities, even how to navigate. Well, look at that. Your major arcana under you. It's a reminder of your unlimited potential, truly. Now, the one thing we want to remember with the chariot is it needs balance to really soar. But once you have balance, and I feel like that's what you're finding in the Nine of Cups because of the Nine of Wands, because you've reflected back, and even the difficult things, but you're looking at it through, with a different perspective. Like before, I could have been looking at it like, why does these things keep happening to me? But now I'm looking at it like, without these experiences, these adventures, maybe I wouldn't have found this inner harmony. And that feels like it's opening up the gate to what's new. You and your unlimited potential. Really, in all areas of life. The chariot, it's not driven by the reins of the horse, it's driven by your intentions. Your intentions tell the chariot where to go. So I love that this just showed up under you. All right, so let's look at the external influences. Hmm, Ten of Wands. It's like I've had enough. You've had enough of something. I mean, just look at this person. It's like he's trying to push all these wands. It's like feeling like it's all my responsibility. And maybe that's the case for some of you. You thought that it all had to be on your shoulders. But then I feel like the realization, well, that's not fair, right? That's not fair. This can speak about a period of time when there were just a lot of responsibilities in your life. But now I feel this sense of freedom with the Nine of Cups. And when I say freedom, it doesn't always mean like, let's say you're in a relationship right now and you're happy. It doesn't mean freedom like, well, it's going to depend on each person, but like, I don't read it as like you have to be single. It's just, I feel like you're letting these wands go. Like, you're understanding, if I'm in a situation and everything is on my shoulders, well, that doesn't seem fair, right? And I often feel like subconsciously, this person is wishing for a tower. Like make me put these wands down. Enough is enough. This is that energy of I've had enough. But things are about to change. Okay, so let's look at your hopes and fears. I say your hopes and fears, but I like a wider range than just your hopes and fears. We have the Hierophant. I'll tell you the very first thing I noticed when I turned this card around are these keys. It's like the keys to the kingdom, but there's two keys. This is the Hierophant, which is also stands for the wisdom you've gained along the way. It's a 5, does speak about change. Some of you, that may be the fear. Some people really have a hard time with change. Sometimes, you know, sometimes it happens anyway. I also feel that you are pretty clear now with like what you want in life. You know, fears, but also your hopes. So, because there's two keys, I feel like if I'm falling in love, then I want their morals to match my morals. I want us to be in sync, so to speak. This is also the card of Taurus. I don't think I've given any signs, but all right. And then let's look at the final outcome. This is a quick spread. This is why I'm going to use the crystal vision and go back and get even more clarity. So, the outcome, the potential outcome. We have the Ace of Swords. So, first of all, the Ace of Swords. If you came here with a question in your mind, this is my yes card. And it's mirroring your major arcana. This is your truth. Like, don't deny what you know to be the truth. It won't serve you. And I love that it's mirroring you. Again, for those who, it's interesting. I want to say doing something with your voice, creating, using your voice. I feel like really trust in that. I do feel like some are building a business. Again, it could be a podcast, but it doesn't have to just be a podcast. I feel like you have the experience, um, even if you don't think you do. And what I mean by that is oftentimes, like when I started this tarot channel, or I shouldn't say the tarot channel, but when I started tarot, I didn't know anything, right? I didn't know anything, but I certainly felt called to it. So I took a chance. And here I am so many years late. Well, I've been on YouTube for 10 years, but reading tarot probably for 20. So the Ace of Swords, your truth, it feels like it's going your way. Like I feel things are changing. They're changing quickly. The seed is coming to fruition. For some of you, this could certainly be communication coming in. But if that's the case, it is truthful. So I feel like it's something you can trust. And I love that it's so close to the Hierophant. Because again, if I'm going to connect with someone, then it's important that our morals be aligned. We don't have to be exactly alike. It's just that, you know, like if I've been cheated on, let's say, and who hasn't? I mean, I'm sure there's people who haven't, but most of us have. And, once that happens, you never want that again. So these morals are important. Again, the keys to the kingdom. It's like you're receiving the keys to your kingdom. And I feel like it's explaining why, right? Through this reflection, it's brought you inner harmony. And through this inner harmony, you're putting out these affirmations. Um, it's like you're letting divine know what it is you want in your life. But I would also say, like divine hears you, but be open that, sometimes our prayers are answered differently than what we prayed, but it's only for our own good. Like, let me give you an example. My daughter was this was a couple years ago, having a very hard time. Well, I mean, she's still kind of, but having a hard time financially. And I did pray, like, God, please help her. Well, God didn't put $1 million in her lap. But what happened is within weeks, she found a really good job, and it's a job she loves. So that was my answered prayer. It reminds me of like Jesus, right? Teach a man to fish. Like I can give him a fish, right? But if I teach him how to fish, well then I forget how it goes, but I think you know what I'm saying. So I like what's happening here. I do want to look at the bottom of the deck. Oh my gosh. Hello, lovers. Hello, lovers. So, the lovers. First of all, card of Gemini. It is about a head over heart decision, and that may certainly be the case. But I want you to notice who's influencing these lovers. An angel. Notice how they're both naked. That means that they're comfortable in their own skin, right? I don't have to put on a mask and pretend that I'm someone that I'm not. This is when it's like if you are falling in love, you want to fall in love with someone who's going to love you for exactly who you are and you them. It's both. So great. Um, I don't know. I just feel like that's a great omen. Something making me look underneath that. The Queen of Wands, the Queen of Passion, the Queen that follows her intuition without doubt. And Cancer, you're a very intuitive, if not psychic sign. But sometimes this comes with trial and error, right? I got to figure that out. um I feel like many of us, like we were given red flags, that may be in the Ten of Wands, and many times we ignore them until we start to understand, wait a minute, that red flag, that was really to help me. But I love that we have the lovers. And I'm really noticing those two keys. So for some of you, this communication that I do feel is going to be truthful. It's love. It's love. And the lovers is really undeniable chemistry. So if it's, it can be all of the above, like a head over heart decision. So this night's coming in, communicating with you. Of course, I want to think about that for a second, right? Do I follow my head or do I follow my heart? Here, I kind of feel like if you feel inclined, then I feel like you should follow your heart. You know, in some decks, you'll see the devil also has the lovers. Um, and when you see that image, you see the devil like influencing the lovers, like they're chained, they feel stuck, but it's an illusion. Here, it's the opposite. This is the angel's influence, and even Mother Mary saying, like, your prayers are being answered. But Queen of Wands to me, oh my gosh, look at this. And then the Knight of Cups. It's interesting because it's not that often I go back in a deck, but when I do, I know that I was meant to. This is an unexpected couple fulfillment. And I do feel like every night will complete their mission, come hell or high water. But it is up to us, head over heart decision, right? Will I accept this cup? Well, the Queen of Wands coming in between that, I feel like the answer is yes, because I feel you are the Queen of Wands here. Unless, the Queen of Wands is someone that you're, let's say, hoping for. So, unexpected couple fulfillment. Well, you are in the perfect energy for that. And this it's Five of Pentacles, it does kind of feel like a tower. It was a change. It could have been a change you didn't ask for. But at the same time, it probably will serve you. You don't know it until you know it. This is temporarily difficult energy, especially if you're uncomfortable with change, but it's moving you. And I love that even the magician is under that. It's almost like your higher self, maybe sending in this tower, which in the Ten of Wands, I feel some were secretly, or not secretly, but subconsciously wishing for, I may have a hard time with change. So Divine's like, well, I know that. I know you. So I'm going to help you. It may sting for a moment, but trust in what may be. So this night is going to come in, and then you are going to make a decision. But the Queen of Wands is someone, if I'm passionate about it, she's not a fear-based energy. If I feel the passion, and lovers is chemistry, like no doubt it's chemistry. So I feel like she would say yes. Of course, that is up to you. But I have to say, just by looking back at your past, and some of you, when I say your past, you may be going through this right now. Or the message for you may be, when you reflect back, don't reflect back and, say, what the hell was I thinking? I mean, I've done that, of course, but really, it is about, once we learn these lessons, once we learn, was I giving my energy to someone who just carries a lower vibrational energy, and therefore that's just the way it was going to be. But then I myself no longer, I no longer want to be in that type of energy. I know you've had spiritual growth, it's showing it. And I feel like for some of you, you are really trusting in, it is energy. This is what life is, it's energy. Literally, what I think about, I bring about. Now, with this clarity, and I feel like your garden is about to blossom, and I feel like you are ready. And then don't forget the Nine of Cups, it is answering a wish, but it's a wish that you've made. It's an intention you've put out there. And then just your major arcana coming under you. I love that. All right, let's bring in the crystal vision. And, we don't have to clarify the whole reading, but we'll see. Let's give him a cut. And anyone who's new, the reason why I always cut my decks as I move into a new deck is I want them ready for the ongoing reading. Okay, well, look at this. Cancer. This has only happened in one other reading. Who was it? It was the reading Pisces. It was Pisces reading. I don't know. Some of you may be connected to a Pisces. But this is you. This is for you. Like, I don't know. I probably shouldn't even brought up Pisces energy because this is the energy of a spiritual awakening. When the hangman is in the upright, it is a pause in the action. Seven of Pentacles is asking for that patience. But I have a feeling patient you were. So the hangman, a pause in the action, but the hangman is seeking spiritual wisdom to use on this earthly plane. Well, you're finding that. That makes this Nine of Wands even stronger. Like, I feel like the angels are applauding you right now. Like, I hear it in my mind's eye. Like, all the angels are like, yes, yes, yes. She found herself. He found herself. The soul self. How beautiful. Like, be proud of yourself. And by the way, a spiritual awakening, it's not like an instant thing. It is when, what I feel like? I feel like when you start seeking the light, you find the light. But sometimes we have to seek it first. This is you finding the light. Some of you, it's just beginning. Like the spiritual awakening is just the beginning. Another reason why you're probably getting the keys to the kingdom, so to speak, but this is your kingdom. I love it. We're going to put that right there. And how beautiful that it's coming over the present energy. And it is of a high vibrational energy. So anything or anyone who's coming in towards you now is probably going to be of that same vibration. If not, you'll know it. You'll know it quickly. But I don't want to put a negative tone on this because I feel like these intentions are being answered. And, definitely pay attention to your intuition now because I feel like the signs will be clearer than ever. I feel so proud of you. I just do. All right. Um, let's look at the Nine of Wands and let's see what moved you into that energy. Look at that, the Five of Pentacles, but it's shown in reverse. My deck's in the upright. Had a check. How interesting, because we just saw the Five of Wands, but in the upright. So change, right? A change I may not have asked for, but nonetheless will serve me down the line. Well, I feel like we are now down that line. So it's like the past is no longer affecting you in a negative way. The temporary, difficult energy of the Five of Pentacles is now fading away. Why? Because you were bold enough to look back and to find the clarity that you needed. And if you feel like you haven't found that clarity yet, hang on to your hat. Okay. So before I go to the Nine of Cups, I want to look at the Eight of Wands, because those again are the intentions that you're sending out. Okay, well, they want to come with that. All right, so Three of Swords. Now, I don't feel like you're sending that out, but it's probably something you've been through. I feel like we talked about that. You know, this Three of Swords is relating back to that Five of Pentacles. But this energy feels like is what's leaving. Let's see what else came out with it. Oh my gosh. So the Knight of Cups literally jumped from the bottom of the deck right into your reading. And how beautiful. It's mirroring the Nine of Cups. A fulfillment of a wish. After, right? It's like, okay, I've gone through this heartache or loss, but now I'm moving into, well, loving energy. So we know this night's coming. Literally jumped from the bottom of the deck to the reading under your intentions. Ah, hello, destiny. It feels like some of you, maybe it's even subconscious. You know, the Seven of Pentacles to me is like your destiny. It is the seeds that you've planted. But I do feel like in the Seven of Pentacles, some of those seeds were planted before I even came into this lifetime. Some of you, this may talk about a love that is coming in its destined time. Why am I holding the card down? In its destined time, but really in the right timing. You know, it makes sense because let's say you were still going through the Three of Swords, and I'm not saying that's completely cleared, but the Five of Pentacles showing in reverse, it's having less and less effect upon your present. This is your destiny. And I feel like your soul knows that. Your human mind may just be catching up to the fact, but your soul knew it. Beautiful. The Magician, the Manifester. You know, the Magician is really a mentor. And the Magician is a reminder that you have all the tools that you need to possess or create whatever it is you want to create. A lot of times you'll see the magician sitting at a table, and at that table are all the tools. And these tools are from your wisdom, your past experiences, and now clearly knowing what it is you want to manifest. You know, interesting because we're going into the year of the magician. And then we have the Five of Wands. So the Five of Wands mirroring the Three of Swords. I feel like this is simply saying, number one, it is a five, so it's change. Some of you may have dealt with someone who had a lot of ego. It's easy to get pulled into this energy. This is a lot of drama. It can talk about communication that was not good, here, and maybe there, but it didn't flow. I feel like in this energy, sometimes we got to be okay with the fact that someone may not acknowledge like their own actions. But the truth is, this is what was. This is the energy that's leaving. So, it's like when this night comes in, I don't feel like you'll even be thinking about that anymore. I just don't think you'll be thinking about it anymore. Look at the hangman in the awakened state, the Knight of Cups connected directly to your will, your destiny, and the magician, that power. So the Three of Swords and the Five of Wands is anchoring that. It just doesn't feel like it fits any longer. It's almost like if it's a person, it just feels like they don't fit in my life anymore. And if they've caused me heartache, I feel like there's no way you're taking that anymore. I feel like you're definitely, those that may be looking for love. But again, every night's going to complete their mission. Morals, like-minded, in the right time. And in the Knight of Cups energy, just love itself. It is like I can't think of once when I have planned love, right? It just happens. It just happens. And I get people say all the time in the comment section, my heart is closed down. And that is your right. If you want to close your heart down, you close your heart down. It doesn't necessarily stop these nights. It doesn't stop these nights. But ultimately, it is your decision. Boy, do I love that the Knight of Cups is connected directly to your destiny and you here having this spiritual awakening. And now the Seven of Pentacles, whatever seeds are manifesting. Wow, I feel like you're ready. Be ready to just get excited. And it doesn't have to just talk about love. It can also be a love of what I do. Some with the Five of Pentacles could have lost a job. And then you turn around, you get this epiphany, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. Some of you, it can be spiritually based. I know I say that a lot in the readings, but I feel like many of you, that's what you're doing. You're awakening. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Okay. I accept that. I feel like I got to keep them out. I don't want to put them away. So okay. Well, let's go to, I was going to say what card I was going to next. We have the Six of Pentacles. It's in reverse. Interesting how the Five of Pentacles and the Six of Pentacles are in reverse. So, I don't feel like you're still dealing with that. Or if you are, I feel like it has the opportunity to end. But maybe I do have to be part of that ending, right? I've got to close that door. Six of Pentacles is that fine art of give and take. And it is the energy of compassion and empathy. It's, and this is you. I want to help others. But sometimes we get stuck trying to help the wrong person. We shouldn't have to fix someone. It's not our job. It's not, I'm not saying that we shouldn't help, but we got to know who we're helping. Because in the Six of Pentacles, in reverse, it's like things have not been fair. Well, even the Ten of Wands is saying that. Like something has been put all on your shoulders. And I just get the sense that you've had enough. You've had enough. You must have had the realization, right, that things were not fair. This is not this is not about changing who you are. Stay that compassion and empathetic self. But also don't accept those who just can't give. To me it just makes me feel like excuse me, especially with the Five of Wands mirroring the Three of Swords. But yet again, that Five of Pentacles in reverse, I don't know. I just feel like sometimes people just don't, you know, I want to say don't know how to give, don't know, that fine art of give and take. But then again, it's not about you being their teacher. It's not that I don't know why I'm not having a hard time, but like I'm seeing this in a few different ways. But I feel for some, I may have tried to help someone become a better person, but in a way, I feel like they didn't really want a part in that. They weren't interested in becoming a better person, or they weren't interested in, it's like, I'd rather just receive than give. Well, we can only take that for so long, right? And I feel like you took it for quite a long time. But here you are, now in this spiritual awakening. And by the way, I'm just noticing, like when I lay cards down, I don't even realize the way I'm putting them down. Like sometimes I don't know what my hands are doing because I'm so connected to the reading and our guides. But I'm noticing how the hangman in the awakened state is connecting directly to that Knight of Cups. All right, so I'm going to look at the Knight of Swords. Funny, I said I'm not going to clarify every card, and here I am. So I want to see more about this Knight of Swords. Well, there you are. Queen of Cups can be Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces. Interesting, I did bring up Pisces, but let me tell you, Queen of Cups in the upright, this is someone who knows how to love. This is someone who, listen, I feel like if someone gets the opportunity to love her, they're lucky. And if they don't know that, well, shame on them. Maybe they're just not your person. Maybe they were a temporary person. Could have been free will. And sometimes we have a lot of different soulmates, and some are karmic soulmates. And there could have been someone who was really teaching you in a very difficult way how to find your own spirituality. That it's like they pushed you to the edge, but you're the one who ends up with this beautiful growth. I have a feeling they stay back. You know what I mean? Because that's what they want. So the Knight of Swords feel like someone's coming in and they're going to usher some very beautiful words to you. And I know it's of the truth. Let's see if anything else wants to come out with that. It's interesting because she's looking at the Ten of Wands, but also the Hierophant. And this 10 wants to come to an end. Hierophant, or any 5, is about change. But the change here within the Hierophant is the wisdom that you now have. So I have the wisdom to make the changes that I know need to be made, but also believing, right, that there are these keys. These keys to your kingdom exist. So some of you are right in between the two. And I was going to say, and I kept stopping, I don't know why, with the spiritual awakening, it's not an overnight process. I mean, I guess it could be for some, but I feel like it means that your spirituality is opening more now than ever. It means that you are paying attention to the signs. You know that your guides are guiding you through signs, through your intuition, through many ways, sometimes songs. That might be why I started the reading singing Let It Be. Whispering words of wisdom, let it be. All right, but I do want to look at the Queen a little deeper. She's even got that full moon behind her, and the moon being your ruler. Definitely feel, I'm just getting the sense like it is your time. Another night. About the Knight of Wands. Wow, that's passion. Also a fast moving knight. I don't want to say Knight of Swords is always fast moving, but just the way they're showing it here, he looks like he's moving quickly. Some of you could have recently become single, and someone may be like, I gotta hurry up before they get connected to someone again. Knight of Wands. Let me tell you, passion ignited. Think of the lovers. The chemistry, undeniable. Doesn't mean I have to say yes, but I won't be able to deny what I'm feeling. I also love this relating to anything in your life. If you're feeling passionate about something, I feel like this is saying, follow that, follow that. Okay. Well, since I've clarified every card, let's continue. So let's look at the Chariot. You. And again, this is your strengths, your qualities to navigate. Well, a chariot is a perfect vehicle to navigate, right? And remember, it is the balance of the feminine and the masculine within ourselves, the light and the dark. It's not about getting rid of it, it's about balancing it. And the realization that you really do have unlimited potential. Just trust in yourself. And then keep in mind that this chariot is driven by your intentions. Well, that's exactly what the Eight of Wands is. So, see if anything else wants to come out with that. I'm sure something does. I feel like patience, number one, because it's just the way the cards are shuffling. Oh my gosh. The High Priestess, your intuition. You put the Hangman in the awakened state, and the High Priestess, and even the Magician. First of all, the Fool's two greatest mentors along any new journey. The Fool starts as, first of all, the present moment, about being free and clear of the past, just extracting the wisdom. That's what the Hierophant does, right? The wisdom of my experiences. But now your intuition being, I feel like, wide open. Like, I feel like your guides are saying, baby, we're going to send you signs. And you are now open to them. Probably more open than you've ever been. All right, well, let's keep going. All right, so that didn't take long. So we're going to look at that Ten of Wands and the Six of Cups. Interesting. Interesting, because the Six of Cups can speak of someone of the past, but it's coming over the Ten of Wands. And I don't feel like this is speaking of someone of the past as like, I don't feel it in a negative way because the Six of Cups is about treasured memories, nostalgia. Some of you, you have someone reaching out who you probably never expected, like someone from back in the day. Now, it can also talk about past lives. I have Leo's reading to do after yours, and then I am doing a past life reading. And, I can't wait. I can't wait to do it because it's just been in so many readings. And here I feel like it is again. For some of you, I feel like you may have become single. They may now know about it. Remember how I said I feel like this night is like rushing in, almost like, oh, she's single or he's single. This is my opportunity. And I feel like they're moving quickly because they don't want you to get into another relationship. Hmm. Boy, I feel like if someone has been on your mind lately, maybe out of the blue, chances are they're thinking about you. Like if you start thinking about someone, you're like, that's weird. Why am I thinking about them? Chances are they're thinking about you and that energy you're picking up on. Some of you, this chariot may be a vehicle where you're actually moving. You like often relate this even to like a hometown or a place where I felt happy. All right, let's keep going. Look at the Hierophant. But now I'm not really even looking at the position that they're in because I feel like this is telling um, a story on its own, so to speak. The Nine of Swords. As soon as I said that, I should take that back because the Hierophant is under your hopes, or I'm sorry, yeah, your hopes and your fears. Well, this is an energy of fear. Nine of Swords. The meaning of the card is unnecessary worry. Even Mother Mary, instead of worrying, I pray about this situation to bring real solutions. How beautiful that it's coming over the Hierophant, which really is, for some, a religious card, a spiritual card. And I get it. I know where this worry is coming from. I understand that, right? It's even mirroring back the Nine of Wands. And, what don't I want anymore? Heartache, drama, someone who takes but is not willing to give. But here's the thing, because you are in this spiritual awakening, you're on this let's just say you're on this spiritual path now. In this spiritual path, when I started my spiritual path, it changed my whole life. My whole life changed. Before this, I wasn't thinking about my spirituality at all. I was just living life. I was just working, taking care of my kids, that type of thing. Now I am all about our spirituality. I understand the importance of it. It's almost like the remembrance of who you are on a soul level. And if you keep in mind that Earth is really our classroom, we're here to learn, to evolve. Our soul wants to have adventures, sometimes even difficult adventures. Let's say you had like any negative karma from a past life. Well, it will come back to you. But this is the opportunity to then pay it off for eternity. I feel like, it's hard to tell someone like there's really no reason to worry because we have to tell ourselves that. But I feel like I want to say that. Okay. Let's look at the Ace of Swords, which is the outcome. Though I feel like the Wheel and the Knight and the Magician and the Awakened Hangman, all of that is part of this outcome. Even you and your intuition. But remember, first of all, I call that my yes card. I've used that in tarot when I do like yes or no's. And when I get the Ace of Swords, it's a yes for me. Now that's at this table. Other people can read it differently, but we're at this table. The sun. Beautiful. First of all, card of Leo, your neighbor. The sun is your illuminator. I love that it's coming over the Ace of Swords. So let's say someone is coming in, or, through the line, I feel like through the line of communication, this will illuminate everything, the good, the bad, the ugly. But I feel like when the sun shows, it's a beautiful omen that it's like a brand new day. It's unencumbered energy. It's like letting that inner child come out and play. But if your fear is, how do I know that this communication, whoever it is truthful? The sun would tell you anything done in the dark will come to the light. No doubt will come to the light. But I have to say, I feel this is more about the energy. Like after being in the shadow for so long, here comes the sun. Here comes the sun, everybody. Here comes, like I'm stuck on Beatles. Look at this. Look at this. Ace of Wands. I often feel the Ace of Wands is like activating your heart chakra, activating passion within. This is also an action oriented energy. So it's like the chakra is activated, but then it's up to you whether you take this ace and move forward. It doesn't have to move quickly. And many times I feel like if we have doubt, then we should move slowly. But don't miss the ride, right? Don't miss the passion. Oh, wow. The Nine of Pentacles. Beautiful. The meaning of this card is successful self-employment. I felt that for some of you. Like, like you get this epiphany and you trust in yourself. And even if it's just the beginning, you decide you're going to move forward. Some of you, again, it may be a podcast. It can be whatever you want it to be, really. But it is your voice. And when I say your voice, it doesn't always mean like I'm speaking. Um, it's your truth, success, independence. I love that you not only have the Nine of Cups, but you also have the Nine of Pentacles. By the way, this may relate to two people who are single. But I also love this Ace of Wands right before this nine because I feel like if this is something new I want to begin, the passion will be ignited. Not only will the passion be ignited within you, the way. The sun helps show you the way, right? It is your illuminator. Your intuition is mirroring all that into all that energy. So the more you trust your intuition, I feel the more success you're going to have. You know, the Nine of Pentacles doesn't have to be self-employment, but it is about starting to see the fruits of your labor. And you are the one who benefits in the Nine of Pentacles. It is your ideas. It is what you decide to do. It is you building something for yourself. But in the same time, I want to say, I love that we have two energies of what I feel are independence. And then if something is coming together, well, number one, there is no restriction upon that. None. So let that worry go. Interesting, you got all the nines, but they fell in the right places. Truly, they just fell in the right places. Anything you feel passionate about moving forward, I would say give it a chance. You know, you can always change course if you so choose. And I'm not telling you what to do. So funny. I just got someone left a comment, and she said to me, she's like, why don't you just leave me alone? And I'm thinking, what the hell do you mean by that? So I wrote back, and normally I just ignore these comments, but I've been getting some of the strangest, rudest comments lately. But let me tell you, not that many. I mainly get your beautiful love. Like, you guys show me so much love. But like, this person's like, leave me the hell alone. And I said, how can I leave you alone when you're at my channel? You know, isn't it the other way around? But then I said, I have a feeling you're not mad at me. You're mad at a situation. You know, now whether this person chooses to listen to that or not, because I felt like if this person would go back and listen to the reading again, but with their spiritual ears, she would pick up the right messages. I don't even know why I'm telling you that, saying that right now. Okay, Cancer. We're not done yet. Three of Cups. Rejoice in celebration. This is the energy of joy. We are going to bring out, let's pick up these though, so the table's not overcrowded. Like, every single card seems so important. I just don't like a crowded table. All right, let's re-straighten it. But that's the Virgo, and that's just the Virgo in me. All right, so now what I want to do is actually, I want to bring out the clarifying love situations. Let's give him a cut. And a shuffle. I'm so glad I did this spread today. Um, I felt guided to do this spread. Then I thought, well, Cancer may want me to do more what I call freestyle. Um, Something said no, do the spread. We have growth guidance. Nurture your roots to fuel progress and rise beyond your dreams. Wow. Let's read that one more time. Growth guidance. Nurture your roots to fuel progress and rise beyond your dreams, beyond your dreams. Thank you very much. We shall take that and accept that. You know, that's beautiful because it just from what we've seen and what I'm feeling, like I feel like don't put any limitations on your dreams. Sometimes we want someone, but yet they put us through hell. So I feel like this is about, like, maybe I want to be in love, and maybe I want a certain person. But if they're giving me drama and heartache, then let your dreams be bigger than that. And then let go of how divine answers those dreams. It's perfect with the Nine of Cups here, which is about a fulfillment of a dream, or actually, it's fulfillment of dreams. So, it doesn't have to be one dream. All right, romance angels, what say you? All right, number one, playfulness. That makes sense. We saw the sun, and I often feel that's a playful energy. To recapture romance, allow your inner youthful spirit of fun to shine. So, this feels like it's meant to be a fun time, an exciting time. You're definitely open, and I feel like you're more accepting now than maybe ever. Even the Three of Cups, joy, right? Joy. To recapture romance, allow your inner youthful spirit of fun to shine. Bring out that inner child. Let it have some fun. And then we have stay optimistic about your love life. Positive thinking, hello, Eight of Wands, and faith, hello, Hierophant, will bring you romance. Positive thinking and faith will bring you romance. I love it when we bring in new decks into an ongoing reading, and they talk about what we've already seen. Something is telling me to take one more shuffle though, so I'm going to do that. Okay, well, we got quite a bit. You deserve love. It's funny, the sirens just went off. I live in a small town, so when something happens, our fire station sets off the sirens. I think it's a call to all the what do you call that? The volunteers. But I take it as a sign. It's interesting. I take almost everything as a sign. You are lovable. Let your friends help you. Ask for and accept support from others. Wow. Some of you, that Six of Cups it showed, could be an old friend that may be turning into a lover. And then retreat. It's time to disconnect from the world. But I want you to look at this image. You know, for some, I feel like getting out into nature can be very healing. But I feel like this person is talking to a special spirit guide. And I definitely feel that you should feel open to just talking to them. Even if you're not sure if they're hearing you, they're hearing you. But just talk. Talk to them. And with the high priestess coming over your major arcana, I feel like the signs that they're talking to you or helping to guide you will probably be pretty clear. You know, I love this image because this person is getting ready to shoot her arrow. And it could be at a particular person, but I feel like it reminds me of the Eight of Wands, right? I'm just shooting my arrow, the arrow of love out into the universe. It's almost like where it lands is where I go. It's trusting in that. That wherever this arrow lands, that may be my answer. All right, so I hear take one more. So I shall. Interesting. I don't normally take this many romance angels, but that's what I'm hearing. Give your relationship a chance. Work on your partnership. And that could apply. You know what I mean? But yet at the same time, I feel like both got to be working on that. Look at this. Hello. New love. Now, when I say new love, I'm not excluding past love and even past life love. You know, it reminds me of like Sam and I, who, he was my first, I was a teenager, but in my mind, my first true love. And then we broke up as teenagers. And then he reached out 40 years later. So to me, it was new again because we didn't know each other as adults. So I don't ever take that off the table. But new love, a new person has stirred your romantic feelings. We see that all through your reading. And then last but not least, express your love. Go ahead and make that romantic gesture. I feel like it's safe. I feel like it will be safe to do so. It's interesting that you deserve love came first, right? Knowing that you're lovable. Doesn't mean you're perfect, but nobody is. But I get this sense of like number one, I do feel like it's important that whoever comes in and loves you, that your morals be closely aligned. And because you're having this spiritual awakening, and for some of you, it's just the beginning. Well, that alone, I feel like will bring you, well, reasons to celebrate. And that's exactly what the Three of Cups want you to do. Rejoice in celebration. So, what an abundant reading. I feel like for many, it's starting a business or advancing like in your career starting to see the fruits of those labors, taking chances on yourself, and then also for love. Like, I feel like we got the highest vibration as it relates to love. But yeah, we had to get through some bullshit first. But you did. That's the thing. You did. And I feel like sometimes going through some of these relationships that weren't so great, one of the things that we learn is what we do not want in love. And that's an important lesson to learn. You know, I think, like, I can think back at my earlier years, and this is another reason why I want to do this. Like, I'm doing YouTube, is because I do want to reach, like, younger girls or women and let them know, like, help them see that they don't have to accept, right? That they deserve like true love. But yet, sometimes they go like we're going through difficult experiences, but they're teaching us something. And when we realize that, and sometimes it is as simple as I now know what I do not want in love. I now know how to read energy. And I feel like that's exactly what it's showing here. Like you are learning to read energy more and more. You're understanding that if you never put those intentions out there, it's not that that life will always stay the same. Life is going to change no matter what, right? That wheel's always turning. But now it is turning in your favor. What a reading, Cancer. What a reading. Um, this is why I pay attention to my guides, my intuition, because literally I was not going to do this spread. And then I heard, do this spread. And my God, am I glad I did. All right. I think I'm going to let that be. Um, as always, I thank you. I love you. I know you have a million different videos to choose from. I know some of you were guided though. I know that. Like I just heard that. Like some of you were intuitively guided, and who knows, you may not have cancer in your chart, but then everything will make sense. Sometimes it doesn't have to be a whole reading, though. Sometimes it's bits and pieces. You know what I mean? But for some of you, like this whole reading, I feel like I just told the story of cancer and where cancer is going. And I can't wait for you. I cannot wait. So I'm going to let that be. I love you guys. I thank you. I do apologize. You're reading. I don't even know what the date is. Like that's the thing when you work from home. I don't even know what day it is. Um, but I don't even care. But I do know that I'm late. Like I tried to get all the readings done by October 1st, but it didn't happen. But this is probably its divine timing anyway. I just found this reading beautiful. I see the hardship. Don't get me wrong. But I also see the beautiful growth within you. And it only makes sense as you yourself are evolving, that around you also evolves. And that doesn't can become a feeling of resistance. And that resistance sometimes is telling us this no longer fits. It no longer fits to where you want to go. All right, I'm still talking. I love you guys. I'll see you next time. I can't wait to read your comments. Um, Hopefully I don't get any nasty ones this time, but what's interesting? I feel like some of these comments are coming because we're in this universal year 9 and we're getting closer and closer. It's interesting. I went out, I was working, And I left my office and went out into the living room, and Sam was out there and he had tears in his eyes. And I'm like, what's wrong? And all of a sudden he started talking about like his past, like things that had happened, like mainly in his family. Um, and I knew it was like, it is the universal year nine. It is bringing up old feelings, things that we need to reflect upon and then let go. And I told him, I said, you got, he grew up in an old Italian family. Why am I saying old? He grew up in an Italian family, and there's a lot of kids. There's 7 kids. He was the baby. And there was a lot of age difference between the oldest to him. And, they just had different experiences with their parents. But he felt like like the older brothers and sisters, their disrespect to his mom and dad, and it broke his heart, and he still feels it. And I said to him, I'm like, his mom and dad have crossed. I said, you think that they're up there right now wanting you to carry this weight? They have forgiven. Now you have to find a way to forgive within your own heart. But I knew that many of us are going through that. Old things that are coming to the surface. We're meant to like reflect upon them and then let them go. So, anyways, again, I'm still talking. I love you. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.